Shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. This is their old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And it is a thrill for me, a delight for me to be welcoming to the show on this Shabbos morning, July. No, it's not even July. What the hell is wrong with me? It's August 3rd, 2024. A writer, a psychic, a numerologist. I'm looking good. I like the thing. What? Yes, it looks. I'm looking pretty sharp right there. We should do this all the. I'm digging it. I'm digging it, ladies and gentlemen. But her name is SUZAN Owens, and a world traveler. She has been to places like Nepal and Botswana and Kenya and New Zealand and Passaic, New Jersey. All these kinds of places that our guest in the neighborhood joining us momentarily has been. So, does she have a website? Of course she has a website. What the hell is her website? I gotta look for that. SUZANOwens.com. I do want to mention, rather importantly, I don't know where she went. Is she still there?
I am. I'm here.
Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Oh, shalom, uvracha. Welcome to SUZAN Owens. Hello.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here, Dave.
As well you should be. I'm not Dave. I'm Rabbi Sol.
I mean, Rabbi, excuse me. Yes. Well, I apologize.
Kiss my signet ring.
Oh, there we go. Yes.
No, I was thinking of the one on my penis, but okay. Shalom to you. I'm kidding. I joke here. So, SUZAN, shalom to you. What is the most recent place to which, whether it's exotic or not, to which you have traveled?
The most recent. Oh boy. Now that has to down to the lake, I guess, across the street. But that's not very exotic and not very exciting.
Are you in California or where are you?
I'm actually in North Idaho. It is absolutely beautiful here. It is fabulous summer and all the activities. I live in Coeur d'Alene. It's a beautiful name. Thanks to the French, they owned it for at one time. But anyway, it's a beautiful place, and so I love living here. And then, but traveling abroad, the last place I went, I traveled to. Actually, I was in Iceland, which was fabulous, and very different.
Stop right there. What's something interesting, amazing, or funny that happened to you when you were in Iceland? Did you wreck your Vic? Kidding.
You know, fabulous people. Really incredible people. The interesting thing, they don't have hot water heaters. They pump in they've got so many hot springs and water coming in from underground, beautiful, that they have hot water and they have cold water, and you don't pay for it. It's just.
Did you shower? Was it hot enough, the water from the hot springs, to shower and feel like you were really?
Absolutely. And they have signs all over their hot springs everywhere that say, do not touch the water. And of course, people do because, well, people, but, and then they get burned, seriously. But it's extremely hot, comes right out of the earth. So that was interesting to me. I had no idea. And pristine, everything about it was pristine, so clean. And the people are just as pristine as the landscape. I was really, really impressed with how kind and I want to say almost protected they were. Really interesting to me. It was like, I met a family. Get this. I met a family a family of 4 that she was a scientist and she got a job in Irvine, California. And this family from it wasn't even Reykjavik. It was like outside, very quiet community, small town. Just think small town and really protected, going to Irvine. I said, oh, culture shock. Wow. But anyway, so interesting people. Lovely.
Was that your very first? Had you been to Iceland? That was your first time?
That was my first time. And it was a stopover. I was trying to get back to my granddaughter's birthday party. And I was
Idaho or where?
I know, isn't that funny? In Idaho, right? And I was in Paris at the time, and stupid me, I should have stayed, but I got on a plane. The only way they could get me back to the States on time was to come through Iceland.
No, so it was a mistake. It was bashert. It was meant to be.
Well, yeah. And then I ended up sitting next to 2 women that were just mean. They were really funny. And one of them turned to me and she said, I just had COVID last week, but I'm fine. Well, guess what? I ended up with COVID. Didn't get to go to my birthday party. Didn't
Oh
get to see
no.
oh yeah, it was like, oh my gosh. So you know what? It was meant to be for me to stay is really what it was meant to be. But it was fine. It all worked out. But still, it's like, no, don't try to push it. It was, like I said, it was really hard to get me off the continent. And so I should have stayed, but doesn't matter. It was another adventure. But that trip was interesting. This was a few years ago that I'd gone, and I landed in Florence in Italy, which I love.
Lawrence, yes, yes.
The art, the culture, fabulous. And this was in 2022. It was 2 years ago that I went. So it was right after the pandemic, right? And I landed in Florence and I barely heard American English. I barely heard Italian. I heard American English over and over and over. I ran into Americans everywhere. It's like,
even in 2022, when people were still just barely traveling, or that was when they first reopened the
right,
world, really. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right, right. And so the other piece of that was that I flew Air France, and they decided they weren't going to give me my luggage. They never did find it, and I traveled for 2 months all over Europe without luggage. And you know what? That was so interesting because I'd never done that before, and I'm usually a pretty light traveler anyway.
Right.
But I absolutely, I thought, all right, I'll get what I need. And I bought a few clothes. I had the teeniest carry-on, and I traveled for 2 months that way. And it wasn't that hard. Actually, it was easier
Well,
because it was
but here's the deal. This is the modern world. You could have, presumably, bought another suitcase
right.
wherever and just gone to France and bought 6 pairs of underwear, 7 pairs of pants, or whatever women need. I mean, you have toiletries,
Right.
toilets,
Sure.
and done that. But you chose to keep sort of light, and just do a lot of laundry, I would assume.
And that was really easy to do, always easy to do. And because I'd done that before when I traveled on the freighter. And then also when I was, oh yeah, that was interesting. I told you the story. I didn't tell you the
Well,
story.
you've told me a couple of things before. The people watching this have no idea what the hell a freighter is. So
Oh,
yeah. So let's roll it back. Let's have a narrative constructed here. The first time you traveled anywhere as an adult, where was this?
I went to Europe. This was in 98,
Right.
and I traveled alone. All my travels have been alone. I'm kind of selfish. I like to know it's just me. So I can take
No, it's one thing if you're not married or whatever, if you don't have a partner. But most people who do that, they do a tour group. They go with a friend or 2 or 3 friends, like a thing. But you know, which is interesting.
No, in 98, I knew I was going to see Europe, but I also ended up in the Middle East. I ended up in Dubai. And this was before Dubai became Dubai. It was just a couple of buildings in the desert. Like I said, this was 98.
So how did you? Wait. How did you're planning to go? Oh, I'm gonna go to Europe. I'm gonna see Italy. I'm gonna see France. Maybe get to London. Stop
Oh,
in
absolutely.
Dublin if I can. How does that bring you to freaking Dubai?
Well, I met someone in Monaco. I was walking through the city and I met an Egyptian in Monaco. And it was funny. He came up to me and he said, "Would you take a picture of me in front of the prince's yacht?" And I said, "Oh, of course, absolutely." So I did. And as a single woman alone, I love talking to people. I love strangers, and people will talk to you more if you're alone. It's true, rather than if you're in a couple. So I spoke to, I said, "Hi, I'm Susan. I'm an American." And he said, "Hi, I'm, oh dear, Abdul.
I'm a
I'm an,
white slave salesperson, and you're just perfect for a harem that I'm putting together for the Shah of Hokmanan.
oh, I love it. No, actually, the truth is, he said, "I'm Egyptian." I said, "Oh, I've never met an Egyptian before." And we spent the day together and had a lovely time.
Ooh.
And it was just a really interesting, and so that sort of began my love affair with Egypt, and if you will, because
Oh
I
wait,
ended
so he took you though to Dubai? Was that the
we
deal?
met we met in Dubai. I wasn't
You
even
said no. You
supposed
said Monaco. Wait, what?
well, okay. We met in Monaco. I wasn't supposed to be in Monaco. He wasn't supposed to be in Monaco that day. Oh, it was divine. Let me
Okay,
tell you.
but is Dubai in Monaco? I don't know my
No,
maps.
no. Okay. Monaco is a small little country inside France. It's right on the French
Oh,
Riviera.
okay,
Okay.
fine.
Prince Rainier, and remember Grace Kelly? She married the prince
I
there.
remember. Yes, sure.
Right. Okay. So that was their little country, and still is. And so I was actually in Nice at the time and
I hope your nephew wasn't angry, but yes.
getting a ticket to go to Barcelona. I'm bouncing all over, but the truth was,
Right,
I'll
okay.
tell you the truth. And I ran into, at the train station, I ran into a few people. I heard English, American English. And again, 25 years ago, American English wasn't that common, right? So anytime I heard English, I was excited. And they said, we're going to Monaco, come join us. So all of a sudden I got on a train and I went to Monaco for the day. Well, Abdul was in Italy and he was doing a conference. He had the day off. So he ended up, we met
Going
in,
also to so you met up back again. I got it. So
right.
I was
And
wondering if there was a romantic coupling thing going on there, but it was just like whoa, there we go.
okay. So
Pyramids together. I can see this now. All right, yeah.
So anyway, well, he ended up going back to Italy and I went on to Barcelona, and then we stayed connected, but it was unbelievable to stay connected at that time. It was flip phones, maybe. I don't even think flip phones were in yet.
Oh
So
God.
it was like, it was really fax machines, if you can remember those. And I mean, trying to stay connected. So he
You said
invited,
backs blip, 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 blip. What? Blip, blip. R, blip, blip. You, blip, blip. Wearing. Okay. It takes all the romance away out of it. It does.
it was really a challenge. So he said, well, I'm going to be in Dubai at this time. And he said, why don't you meet me? And I said, sure. Where is it? I mean, at that time, where was it? And he said, oh, it's on the Gulf. Well, at that time, I had no idea. Oh, the Gulf. Oh, okay, whatever. And I was I was in Milan at the time when we were trying to get this organized.
Yeah.
And I ended up he said, well, send me, oh, this is a great story. He said, send me your picture of your passport and I'll get the visa. I'll get all the paperwork that you need. And I said, okay, great. And so I faxed picture of my passport and he said he'd get everything and he would meet me in Dubai.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I had my ticket. Funny story. My ticket was those red ones. Do you remember those? They were red. Well, it was way before electronic tickets, and it was and they rip off a ticket as soon as you get on the plane. They're old school, right? Very old school. So I get to the airport and she said, where's your visa? And I said, I don't have a visa. My colleague is meeting me in Dubai with my visa. Well, you can't get on the plane.
Right.
And I'm standing there and I'm going, no way, I'm getting on this plane. And she disappeared, came back and said, okay, just know, and I said, well, I have a layover in Athens. Am I going to be okay in Athens? And she said, sure, I've pushed you through all that. No, I get to Athens and no, you're not getting on this plane. I said, yes, I am. And finally he relented. He said, it's going to cost me $500 if you mess up. I said, I won't mess up.
Oh, what do you mean?
Right.
Get arrested?
Well, if I don't have a visa when I get there,
yeah.
That was the thing. That was the messing up. So I sit next to this man. Okay, so I'm in Athens and I'm on my way to Dubai. And the next flight was it was a stopover in Dubai, and then they were going to Kuwait. And at that time, we weren't great friends in the Middle East. So it was real interesting.
At that time?
Yeah, right, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So I sat down next to this young man in his white galabaya, the long white dress, and then the red. I'm not sure where he was from. I think he was headed to Kuwait. Anyway, I looked at his itinerary and I looked at it and I thought, oh, this is great. His itinerary says we get into Dubai 3 hours earlier than I told my friend Abdul that we were going to get into,
Right.
So not only am I going to land without the proper paperwork, but I'm going to be there 3 hours on my own. And I'm dressed in a business dress.
They should have taken Delta, because Delta would have been 3 hours late, and then it would have worked out perfectly, you know.
That's a great idea. No, it was Olympic Airlines, I think. But anyway, I'll speed this up. So
Yeah.
I'm nervous. Oh my gosh, I'm so scared because I thought they won't let me off the plane, and then I'm going on to Kuwait. What's going to happen to me? So I get off. They do let me off. I have nothing. I go up to a desk and I said, I don't have a visa. And the young man says, "Oh my gosh, you don't have a visa." Believe me, their English was extraordinary. And that's my experience with Egyptians as well, that for some reason, Arabic and English, you don't have a lot, they don't sound similar, but learning the language, it's clearer.
You just take any English word and put "chuch" in it, and that's basically
That's it. That's
like
absolutely
like this. You can basically under stanza. Yes.
yes. So he said, just go sit down over there. So I ended up sitting for quite some time,
Well,
and
yeah.
waiting. And finally I went back and he said, "We can get you an emergency visa." Oh, big relief. I had no idea what I was going to do in Dubai at that time. Again, it was a few buildings, there was nothing. And so he said, "I'll wake my friend up." By this time it was 3 o'clock in the morning. "And I'll wake my friend up and we'll get you a visa." So we started the paperwork, and then all of a sudden here comes this lovely young woman, which, by the way, I was the only blonde in the whole airport.
Yeah.
And she brings this paper, and it's my visa, and I look up and there's Abdul. And so yay, and it was fabulous. I spent the day on the right on the Red Sea. It was so beautiful. I went a journey out into the desert, rode camels, it was just real touristy, but very fun. Very, very.
I mean, again, this is probably before some of the troubles that we've had over there. But as a blonde American woman on the beach or walking around, did any Arab guys go like, cut her legs off, or anything like that?
Not at all. And I was ignorant too, I'll tell you, because I had a denim skirt. I wore short denim skirts. That's what I would wear. And I would get stared at, absolutely stared at. And I went into a dress shop and I asked this woman, I said, "Am I okay?" She said, "You're fine. Don't worry about it. They like to stare. They're harmless." And I thought, thank you very much. And has been my experience, truly, that I've never.
Has it been in the past 10, 20 years, if you've revisited parts of the Arab and maybe even the African world?
Yes, very much. On the freighter, which we get to talk about too, but we stopped in Abu Dhabi, and it was
Abu Dhabi honeymoon. Yes, sorry. Yes.
and Abu Dhabi was great, and it was certainly not as commercial as Dubai. But no, my years in Cairo, no, I never had trouble. I never felt unsafe in Cairo ever. I was there I moved there in 2005. I worked on a radio station I was a children's TV show, a radio show I did with get this, Marilyn Monroe of Egypt. Her name is Lubna Abdelaziz.
And yeah, all right. Lubna Abdelaziz. Well, all right, yeah. Was she? Why would they waste her on children, though? If she's Marilyn Monroe.
She was the Marilyn Monroe in the 60s. Let me say that. She did shows. Oh my gosh. Oh, she did shows with, oh dear, my mind's going blank, but I can see them, but major actors from Egypt and
like Omar Sharif kind of people, or
yep, Omar. And who was Lawrence of Arabia? Oh my gosh, Peter O'Toole.
Peter O'Toole, yeah.
Yeah. So she did some major stuff, and she gave it all up, got married, gave it all up, and all that.
Radio.
And then she did,
lower than this show. And there's nothing to do a podcast on Facebook on Shabbos mornings. There's another to do children's radio in Egypt. My God.
I know, but it was such a blessing to me. It was so much fun. And then I wrote for the oldest English newspaper, the Gazette, the Egyptian Gazette. So I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
So how did you get the jobs there that caused you to move there in the first place? Or did you move without having a gig?
I did. I was done in the States. I graduated I got my master's degree. My parents were gone. My kids were grown. They were on their own. And I thought, you know what? I am so ready for an adventure. And I got one. Oh my gosh. So, because it's different, it's a developing country. And it certainly was at that time. And I had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd traveled the world a little bit, but not anything like Cairo. And so it was quite the growth experience. But you know what? I met people. Again, I heard American English and I thought, "Oh, this is going to be cool. I'm, hello, hi, and that's what I met. I met Lubna's daughter. We
Oh,
actually lived in the same building and I met her and she said, "Oh, you've got to meet my mother." And that started that. And then when I traveled through Africa, the the editor of the Gazette wanted me to write stories for him about that. So
yeah.
it just all seemed to fall together. It was fabulous.
And
That's
why
kind of
did
my
you end up
story.
leaving Egypt after 4 years or whatever it?
Well, okay. So it's summer in Cairo, and the best, I mean, people say get out of the New York City in the summer. Well, get out of Cairo in the summer.
Sure.
So that was really what got me going. I went back, I went south. I took a tour. I had about 10 days traveling Kenya, and I had a guide with me, Joseph, and he was delightful. Taught me Swahili. Jumbo. I don't know a lot of Swahili anymore, but it was an easy language to learn. And we traveled through Kenya. I spent days with the Maasai. I met the elders, and the women were incredible. And then we did, I looked at the migration, the wildebeest and the zebras crossing the river at Fabulous.
Whoa!
Yeah, it was an extraordinary experience. And then I continued on south. I was in Zambia, and again, this is on my own because I'm not sure that I'd want to take care of somebody else or make sure. I'd probably take too much care of somebody else, make sure they're okay. But for me, it's like, oh yeah, okay, sure, I'll go do this. I can go do
Well,
this.
what was the most interesting or funny thing that happened in Zambia?
Okay, well,
I don't even know Zambia was still on the map. Who knew it was Zambia?
right. Well, this is fun because I stayed at a resort. Now, a resort, mind you, all open, and zebras roam the grounds. I have a photograph of a zebra sleeping. And have you ever seen the stomach on a zebra? It's just incredible. The lines actually come together. Really cool. But we have flies that come in and bug our food. They have monkeys. And they're constantly shooing the monkeys because everything's open, right? So they're constantly shooing the monkeys off off the tables to get because they're in getting the sugar. So it was really comical to watch them.
Well, were you afraid of lions though, or I mean, lions are Africa or tigers or something like that.
Right. Yeah, lions. No, there were a lot of lions, but they'll just come. Not there. I saw a lion kill, which was pretty extraordinary in Botswana. That's another great story.
What do you mean, a human hunter killed a lion kind of thing?
No, a lion killed a Cape buffalo.
Oh
And
my God! Yeah.
yeah, it was devastating for me to watch it. But according to the guide, it was a very humane kill because some of them can take a long time. What was fascinating about this is the females are the ones that circle him, and then they take him down. And the male came up and put his huge jaws on the buffalo's neck and just
Oh boy.
closed it. And that's what I got. Yeah, it's getting. Ooh.
Now
But
you're
for
a vegetarian. You don't even watch the Detroit Lions. You can't.
I know. But anyway, it was quite the story. But I got to tell you about Zambia because across the Zambezi River flows between Zimbabwe and Zambia.
Oh, Zimbabwe.
And
Yeah.
right, yeah. So right there, you can walk out into the middle of the bridge and do a bungee jump, which I did. And okay, so I was 40 something. I can't remember how old I was. Yeah, I must have been 40 and 48. I was almost 50. That's right. And I came up to the guy and I said, it was the Border Patrol. And I said, I'm just going to go out here to do a bungee jump. He said, you? I said, yeah, just me. He said, no way. And I said, yeah, I'm going to do this. And he said, well, I want to see your stamp because they give you a stamp that you'd actually done it. And sure enough, I did it. But it was interesting because you have to know that it's not high tech. They wrapped towels around my legs, and then they wrapped the bungees around my legs, and I jumped off this platform and flew down to the river and bounced back up. It was quite the adventure.
Do you
And I
like
did learn.
like amusement parks and thrill rides and things like that? Because the idea of bungee jumping is exciting. The reality of it, there would be poop running down my back halfway down the thing. And every other thing orifice of my body. No?
I'm totally, and you wouldn't be the first one. There were a lot of people. I'm not afraid of heights. I'm not afraid of that. So that was part of it that I was like, that's okay. But I did jump out of an airplane once, and that was enough. I thought, but bungee jumping, I could do that a lot. But the guy that I got to tell you this story. I always said I wanted to jump out of an airplane. So my husband, we were married 22 years, great marriage, great divorce. And he said, he gave me one for my birthday. He gave me this tandem air parachute jump.
Oh, yeah.
And my father said, he's trying to get rid of you. And I thought, yeah, it kind of feels like that.
Well, when it's a tandem, you both go down together. That's as it were. Yeah.
Well, the guy that I did it with had done it 2,000 times. And I thought, really? I mean, I thought, it's the same thing over and over,
Although the odds keep getting less and less after 2000, it's sort of like, the 2007 time.
You kind of.
You lived to 2008, so you still got kind of lucky.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But it was interesting. It took forever to get up there and then fly around, and then the thing of it is, he bought the full package, so I got a video of my jump, right?
Yeah.
And my partner, he said, I'll tap you on the shoulder when it's time to wave at the camera, because the other guy was going to come down, fly, with the camera. And so we landed, and I said, you didn't tap me on the shoulder. And he said, oh yeah, I did. You just didn't wave or anything, right? Well, I looked at the video, and he's pounding on my shoulder. And I remember jumping out of the plane, held my breath. I think I left my body is what I think I did. And then because the next thing I remember is this big gasp of air. Mind you, gasping for air as you're falling through air is not an easy thing to do, because you've got all this air coming up on your face. And yeah, it was kind of exciting there for a second.
Exciting, but
what am I doing?
Yeah,
no, but not enough. I didn't need to do it again. That was kind of interesting.
What's another thing that you've tried and you're glad you've tried once, but once is enough?
Oh, I'll have to think about that. Let me keep talking about Africa, and I'll come up with something. I think there were a lot of things that I saw in Africa that made me think, I love this continent, and I would go back in a heartbeat. And I hope to take my grandkids someday, because it's so different. It's absolutely amazing. And I drove through Botswana, and I drove across South Africa, which was really interesting, and did safaris as much as I could. That was the very exciting thing. But I think probably I got to tell you this story. I was in Israel.
And now we're talking. Oh, forget all the African shit and this thing. Let's get to Israel, goddammit. Yes.
I apologize. Should have led with this story, because it was really interesting. Thank you. I feel good. And it was Passover. That is, oh goodness, it was busy, but it was lovely. I never ever, it was an amazing country. And I did the tours there. And that's the other thing. You do tours also, just because you want to see what, I mean, I was staying in Tel Aviv, I believe. And
you can Tel Aviv, but you won't listen.
Exactly. But it was a lovely, lovely, lovely property. And I really enjoyed that. But I wanted to get into the cities and see more. So I'd gotten on this tour.
Seymour. No,
Seymour. Yeah, I wanted to see Seymour. Anyway, that particular day, they opened up the border, and we could get into Palestine, which was unreal
Which is,
because
by the way, which is actually Israel. But okay,
yeah,
fine. Yes.
right. Okay, exactly. But right,
No such thing as
I
Palestine since
I got you.
1948. It's not
But
Palestine. It's just a place where people who call themselves Palestinians, who are actually Israelis, live. Okay, continue.
I gotcha. Totally, absolutely, right there with you. But it was interesting. It was fascinating to get through the border because it was very well protected and all of this. So we did the tour and I took lots of photos and we got back on the bus and I was staying. They were going to I can't remember where they were going, but they weren't going the same place I was. And I said I ran up to the bus driver and I said, I'm supposed to go this way. I'm supposed to go back to Tel Aviv. And he said, I said, well, you can just leave me right here on the freeway and there's taxis going all the time and on the highway. And he said, Madam, we are not in the business to leave women on the highway. He said, we will leave you. There is an encampment not far down the road, pulled off and deposited me with a few Israeli soldiers and waited and called I had my own taxi driver. So they called my taxi driver to come get me. So there I am standing and it was a little surreal because I was standing, there's a West Bank right there. And I'm standing there with a couple of Israeli soldiers who were lovely, by the way. One of them spoke good English. So we had an amazing conversation. Which also, I have to say, some of the most beautiful women I have ever seen in my life were wearing Israeli fatigues. I
Oh
mean,
yes. Oh my God.
stunning.
Yes. Yeah.
And of course, I had to talk to them because I was like, okay, what? And and you know that, right? It's required. Everyone does service
Oh
in the
yeah. Yeah.
military,
Yeah. Yeah.
or you choose. I think you choose, but you have to do. I think
Oh
everyone in
yeah.
that country
You
do
got
service.
unless you're an orthodox lazy person like myself, in which case you get a deferment because you're part of the day. But no,
Uh,
everybody else from
yeah.
3-year-olds that give you a gun, they said go shoot. No, not quite.
Yeah. Anyway, and really, and the thing that even though it was Passover and it was crazy busy, I've always wanted to go back and just really enjoy it because I did get to go to the wall, and what you know this probably, but you write
Piece of
your
paper. Yeah.
prayers on a teeny tiny paper and you push it into the wall and I'm still moved about it. I was so blessed to be able to get up to it and put and I don't even remember now what I wrote, but pushed my little piece of paper into that wall among billions of little
I
tiny pieces.
put dirty jokes in there. I think I think Hashem needs a laugh. He's really just, please, my grandmother's dying. Oh, please this and then, oh, could you protect my children? Oh, guy goes into a bar. I give God a little a chuckle. This is
I
what
love
I
it.
like to do.
I love it. Yeah, well, that was an extraordinary experience. I remember that one, and it is truly. Oh, I floated in the Dead Sea. That was pretty fun.
Everybody floats in it. That's what they
Mhm.
call it. So much salt. It's like a salt lick with a drop of water in it. You go, but
It really,
right? Did you feel like?
it was rejuvenating. It wasn't just floating. It wasn't just
By
buoyant.
the way, it's not re-Arabinating, it's rejuvenating, damn it, because it's Israel.
That's right. It's rejuvenating. That's right. Because it was so much fun to just do that. And then so I did quite the lovely tour around Israel. I'm astounded at the country, and I love the desert. Right? I mean, I love North. I pretty much everywhere I've been in the country, I've really enjoyed. The only place I won't go back to is Johannesburg, and maybe that's different. I don't know, but I
This
think I
was
said
what era? When were you in South Africa, in Johannesburg?
2000 and
Oh, so post.
yeah,
We're talking post. De Klerk and all those.
right,
Yeah.
right,
What was wrong?
yeah. Well, normally I don't like to say negative things, but
Yeah,
I'll tell you the story. No, I'll tell you the story because I had a friend there, so that was part of why I went. And actually, we'd met in Athens on that same trip that I had to have all my past papers. Anyway, we met in Athens. That was funny, and we kind of stayed in touch. So 10 years later, I go back to see her, and uh, everything was watch your stuff, watch your purse. If you sat down in a nice mall, make sure you put the strap of your purse around your chair leg so somebody doesn't just pull it away from you. And do not put your phone on the table because that's going to disappear. And then I stayed just a couple nights with my friend. She had bars over all the windows on the doors. We were coming home one night and she she said, "Oh, there's those people in the street. I don't know them." So we drove around the block again and waited until it was clear to pull into the garage. You don't get out of the car till the garage door's down. I mean, and nothing ever happened, mind you. I was safe, but I thought, how do you live this way?
Was
Because
she being extra paranoid, or everything you were reading, everything on the TV was saying, no, it's dangerous, and you have law and order under control here?
well, I did run into some people that said it's very different now. Well, yeah, you could see where they were coming from and what their background was. They're very wealthy, and that it just wasn't the Johannesburg that
No,
they.
it wouldn't have been. It's like, blacks didn't have anything. Now they want what you got. So there you
Right,
go.
exactly, exactly. So I was glad to leave it. But then you know what? I ended up in Cape Town, and beautiful city. I walked around everywhere by myself, and it reminded me of San Francisco, oddly. And it was a very spiritual city. There were a lot of really incredible experiences that I had, even just among the rocks, just being with, and I again found a tour guide that could take me places. So that's really the fun thing. I mean, I'll go someplace, but I don't pretend to find it all by myself. I'll if I really want to take something, I really want to see something, you bet I'll take a tour and do that. But I don't travel with people.
Well,
That,
you've been to all these incredible, amazing places. Have you been to New Jersey?
that state threw me. I never thought it was really as beautiful as it is. I'll say that.
Oh, you have
I
been. You've seen New Jersey.
I did. I
All
drove
its
through it.
glory. Wow. Yes.
I drove through it. It cost me $20 to get out of it.
We would. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't do something right because she looked at me like I was nuts. But anyway, that was the last toll I paid in New Jersey. But yes, I like New Jersey. I went through a whole rural area where they had horse farms and
Yeah.
it was just it really surprised me. I thought New Jersey was,
New
you
Jersey.
know,
No, but
yeah.
we make fun. It's kind of a punchline of America thing, but it's actually, New Jersey is very, very nice indeed. Maybe not as nice as Idaho.
Yes, there you go. It's
Not as
very
nice
different.
as Idaho is. So, what in all your travels, what was like the most memorable, most wonderful, most exciting moment that you ever had anywhere? You mentioned the Wailing Wall. Well, obviously Israel's number one, but what else would be like the Florence? Where?
Oh, well, Florence was fabulous. But you know what? We didn't get to talk about the freighter. And
Oh,
that,
yes, please, yes.
so I knew when I was traveling around Africa, I knew that you could get on a freighter. I knew that that was a possibility, and I thought that would be fun to do. Well, I'm in New Zealand and I'm traveling around both islands, driving myself, and then at some time driving, and then other times on the bus. But anyway,
Wait. I
I
actually stop right. One quick. I gotta ask. Okay,
sure.
you're an American. You drive. You have a car in Idaho, right? You drive around things.
Oh yeah, oh,
In New Zealand, is it on which side of the wheel thing?
the other side. Yeah, it's on the.
How do you manage this?
Well, you get used to it. You do get used to it. The roundabouts are a little confusing until yeah.
Oh, the roundabouts! I
Yeah,
hate roundabouts.
I
Oh my
know.
God, they're the worst thing. We have them. They're in Maryland. They're everywhere. They're in Colorado. They're terrible. The guy who designed this, and this is my pecking order. There's like Hitler, like Mengele, the guy who created traffic circles. Look, sometimes I jockey with him for Mengele.
Oh my God.
Aren't they the worst?
Well, you have to get used to them. And in Europe, they have many lanes that go into a roundabout. So my first time I learned a roundabout, I learned it the backwards. I went left instead of going to the right.
You're almost
So
causing an accident, I'll bet. Yeah.
yeah, no, I never did get in that. I never have. Thank you.
Lullaby,
Knock on
lullaby,
wood.
lullaby, toy, 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 toy.
Right, doing that. But anyway, I was in New Zealand, love New Zealand, fabulous country. If you ever really want to not leave the United States, but go somewhere different. New Zealand. I
Yeah.
loved it. Loved it. Loved it.
That's how I feel
Anyway,
about Snickerhurst. Yeah, okay.
yeah. So I'm headed to this cute little town called Napier, and freighter travel is going into my head again. I get to Napier and I'm opening the paper. Sure enough, Hamish Jameson, all about freighter travel. Stop in and see him, travel agent. No kidding. So I do. I stop in and I see him, and he said, "Well, you're not going to get a ship out of New Zealand. That just doesn't happen." I said, "Watch me," kind of, I thought, yeah, 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 yeah. Anyway, he said, called me another week later, and he said, "I got you a boat out of Dunedin, south end of the South Island, and it's going to Malaysia and to Kuala Lumpur. And then you can get from Kuala Lumpur, you can hook up and then go all the way to China and back."
Whoa.
So it was great. The first ship was a tiny little German boat, and the crew were from Malaysia. Fabulous, and that was the neatest thing. All the sailors I ever met were so sweet to me. And anyways, I'll
Here's
tell you
what I
about the
don't
next.
understand. I mean, when we're not talking cruise ships, we're not talking yachts or
No.
sailboats. A
Oh, okay.
freighter is a work, unless I'm mistaken, transporting work. But how do you, as a tourist, get on a freighter? I don't
Well,
understand this.
Well, yeah, travel agents, and now the big ship that I want to tell you about was through the third largest shipping company. It was at the time. I think it still is, CMA-CGM, and it's a French ship. Now, and you can contact them about getting on the ship. Now, what's the thing that was so cool? These ships are built not for travel or travelers. They're built for just enough. Well, the older style, they're new ships, but they're so streamlined. They only need 25 crew members to run the ship. So they have empty berths, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, but still, I
So,
mean, you join the mess hall for food. I mean, like, it's not set up for people who want to go bowling in the afternoon and have a buffet. It's
no,
so.
no, okay. This is interesting because I love the quiet. You get a good book, a lot of good books. And so I had a steward that did my bedding, would make my bed, would do all of that. And we had 3 meals a day that were served to us. The steward served us. I ate with the officers. And on this French ship, all the officers were French. And on that, their crew was Romanian.
Oh,
And everyone has to speak English. You have to speak English to be doing this kind of work. Like, when you're flying in an airplane, you pretty much want your officer to speak English, right? And English is the number one second language, by the way. So everybody speaks English. And so we would sit down, white table linens, more silverware than you can imagine. Dinner sometime lasted 3 hours. It's like, oh my gosh, I was kind of at a place where just give me a sandwich and I'll go to my room. It's like, but we'd always have an aperitif before dinner and then sit down. And of course, the crew always wanted to know what I did that day, because if we pulled into port, Hong Kong was my favorite. We pull into port, and then I would get off the ship, and every time they would say, "We will not hold the ship for you," right? Because I'm not important. And I would tour the city, and then I would get back on the ship. I'd find my way back somehow, find my way back on the ship, and be back ready to sail.
sure.
But they used to spend, and the stories those sailors would tell me, oh my gosh, um, they they used to have a week in Hong Kong port. Well, you don't do that anymore, So that's what the sailors would have, a girlfriend in every
Sure.
port.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
don't have time anymore, so it's different. But every morning when the sailors would greet me, they would shake my hand, and if their hands were greasy, they would touch my knuckle. It was really sweet. They were all just, and I was kind of an anomaly anyway, that. So it was a single woman traveling alone, and that was fabulous. So I did fall in love with the captain.
Uh-huh.
And I got to travel a little bit more
Oh.
back from France and Europe. So that lasted a couple of years. That was a
You
good.
went
That was
around the world in various different ways right there. Okay, I got it.
very
Yeah.
much, yeah. So yeah, you think about freighter travel, and it's not what you think. It's totally different. It was elegant. Lunch and dinner were hot meals,
And
and
were
because
there any other quote unquote touristy people when you were doing these freighters? Like, were a couple of the other berths from other people who like, hey, we can do this? Because it's like a best kept secret you're telling people right here that
I know.
go do this, and now everybody who's taking princess cruises will be like, hey, maybe we'll do this freighter instead. You know?
Well, it's not that kind of it's not the same, right?
No, no.
I kept my own, I'm a writer, so I got to write, which I loved. So if you want your own time, because you have a lot of solitude, I think there were videos or something you could watch too if you wanted to, and they had ping pong. And one of the ships I was on actually had a swimming pool that they would fill with water from the Red Sea or not the Red
Oh,
Sea, but from the Indian Ocean as we crossed it.
oh.
So and gyms, they all had a gym because all the sailors want to do that. And so there's a lot of things that you could do, but it's certainly not entertaining. And you really have to find your own entertainment. And I loved it. I loved it. Like I said, I was kind of special.
Well,
I
you
have to tell
mentioned
you.
you're a writer, by the way. We want to get to
Uh-huh.
it. Have you written novels, or is it travel writing, or what else have you written, or where can we read your writing? We have the website, SUZANOWENS.com.
Right. That's my travel book. Right. That all my well, not all of them are on there. I keep posting every so often, but I've got stories from everywhere. And so that's pretty much where you can follow that along. But I wrote numerology. I think we talked about that a
Oh,
little
wait,
bit.
but you believe in like what, the power of numbers, that they mean something?
Totally.
What is it? What it's like?
Yes, numbers. I will. Oh, all right. So
Push the book. You get, it's your book. Got to
well,
push it.
okay. All right. Let me find out what's your birthday and your birth month.
All right, I'm not going to do me. And
No.
I probably shouldn't tell this because then you'll ask for my social security number.
No. See, that's not, no, I
Please
don't
do.
want your whole just your birthday and your birth month. I don't want the year.
All right, fine. All
Okay.
right. So for the producer of the show is January 10123.
Okay. So we add those numbers together
Right.
and that gives me a 6. 1, 2, 3 is a 6. And then I add it to this current year, which is an 8. 2024 is an 8. So 6 plus 8 is 14. It's a 5-year for your producer. So
Got 5 years left to live. What?
oh, no. Numerology runs on a 9-year cycle. And in a 1 year, that's the year to create what you want, to put out there, plant the seeds for what you want to create in the next 9 years. And the 2-year is, then the next year is a 2-year, obviously. And that's your year to kind of sit back and nurture those seeds for whatever you want to generate. The 3rd year, you get to be really creative and expand it. And the 4th year, you really get to work on it. The 5th year, which is where your producer is, that's the year for major expansion and change and surprises. That's the year to take risks. If you see something, if there's opportunities coming, if you see an opportunity, that's the year to take it.
Right, yeah.
And it's an elevative year. In other words, things just sort of they come to you, and if
His
you take
blood pressure has been elevated, so that's one thing. And
yeah.
the only thing that's been expanding is his waistline. So I'm not sure
Oh,
what you're talking about here, but I don't know. What is your number? Where are you? What year are you?
I'm in an 8-year as well. See, currently everybody
He's
has
a
that.
5. You're in an 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So currently everybody universally 2024 is an 8 year. So there's 8 energy everywhere. Well, that's all about management, business, being an authority. And this is the year that I've decided to launch my book and my website, wisdomandnumerology.com. And because I see that as the energy of the 8 is behind me to support me in this kind of work. And next year, there's a 9-year completion, rounding up things, and then I get to begin again in the 1 year in 2026. So I get 2 8s. You get a 5, or your producer gets a 5 and an 8. So there's different energy in that
Well,
too.
hey, this morning I made a number 2, so I'm. So can you hold up I think the book is behind you. Can you hold it up so people can see
Oh,
it?
absolutely, absolutely. Whoops,
See
where'd it
that
go?
little thing
Just a
right
sec.
there?
I'm get turned around here.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
All right.
there it
So
is.
it's Wisdom of Numerology by SUZAN Owen. Notice the spelling of Suzanne, SUZAN, if you're looking
Oh,
for
I
it.
can tell you about that. I can tell you why. It's legally it's SUSAN, but
Oh,
the reason I put the Z in is because Z, every letter belongs to a number, and the Z is an 8. So I put the Z in there for business, management, organization, money. Yeah.
but can't you do that to any letter? If you were to do SUX, X would be what? Would be 24, would be a 6. What would 6 mean?
6 is home and family.
So,
That's all
okay.
about,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now,
So,
when,
but
yeah.
right. But I already did the home and family thing. And this is a time in my life when I really wanted to have that business number, that 8. I had no 8 in my chart anywhere.
You should have changed your name to Susan. You want to get
Yeah, there you
Susie's in
go. Well, I have Zuzu. I do that one too sometimes. But and the Susan is the Z also is Egyptian spelling
Oh, all
because
right. That's fine.
yeah, what's her name? Mubarak, because I was living in Egypt at the time when Mubarak was there. Well, his wife's name was Suzanne. And so I would introduce myself as Suzanne and like Mubarak. And oh, they thought that was funny every single time. It was funny. But anyway, yeah. No, I love world travel. I'll do it in a heartbeat again. And I will go somewhere else. I'm trying to figure out where I want to
Yeah.
go.
Where is your next? Where were you? Obviously, a place you've never been, I assume. Yeah.
Well, I haven't done the Eastern Bloc very much. I'm not sure if I really want to go there yet. I'd love to see Prague.
Prague
And
is
then
so beautiful. Prague is
I,
really physically. The producer went there many years ago. The
Mhm.
people, the buildings, gorgeous. Honest to God, it's lovely, or at least it was back. And now they probably painted everything yellow. Who cares? But Prague. Where else? Where were you thinking of?
Well, I did it. I was in Peru and I was in Chile a couple of years ago,
I hate
and that
Chile,
was
right?
awesome. Chile. Oh, the Chilean people are fabulous. In fact, I got to tell you this is hysterical because they kiss. They kiss to say hello. And it's not just once on one cheek, it's 4 times. They
With
could be
tongue.
back and forth 4 times. And not only do they do that, but whoever's standing in the group, they kiss. So I'm staying with my exchange student son. Oh, we'll have to do another show on exchange students. But anyway, I'm staying with my exchange student son, Gerardo, and his family. And they've lived in Temuco forever. So they know everybody. So there's people coming up to the family all the time. And so everybody has to kiss. Hello.
Well,
And
this is
so
how
I'm,
COVID started. Yeah, right. Everybody's
and
like, there, right there.
so I'm being kissed by all these people. And I'm saying, who's kissing me now? I mean, really. And then not only that, they kiss you hello, but you do the same thing when you say goodbye. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting to me, as an
Still
American.
better
It's
than
like,
North Dakota where they kiss you and then they finger you. It's much worse. But really weird there. Yeah, I'm worried that.
but
Yeah.
I've had exchange students over the years. My first one came from Colombia, from Bogota, and I would love to see Colombia. So I think South America would be really, really fun. I love this. I love that Latino culture. It's lovely. So
May I ask you? I mean, you seem to be independently whatever that you can do all these things and travel and just I want to go here. I'll take a freighter here. I'll do this tour here. Do you have a day job? You're a consultant or what are you a public speaker? What do you do?
well, I would love to do that. I would love to speak more about whatever anybody asks me, because I love to talk. I'm a 3. We love to talk. And so, but I'm also the writer piece, which is also part of the 3.
Are you
So I
getting
know
paid
I'm
enough to?
writing,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm writing more. And I was very blessed with a businessman father. So that was a big gift to me. And he would love me to do this. And my mother too. This would be something that she didn't get to do enough in her life, was travel. So she would have loved this. But yeah, and then you do it right. You know, I have air miles. I travel a lot, and I belong to the Marriott group, so I get discounts when I stay places. So there's a lot about
There's ways
travel.
to, yeah, great.
Yeah,
That's good,
yeah.
good. 'Cause
And
I
everyone,
would love to
yeah,
travel more, but do things on the cheap. You know,
right,
if I would go
absolutely.
on the freighter, I would stay in the bathroom the whole time if I could save like 20%. Because I just keep the mop over there, the toilet's here. You do your business. I won't look. I'm just
Right,
sleeping in the.
right.
Yeah, I would do. Save a couple of bucks. I would do
And
it.
it's true. But yeah, for the adventure, are you kidding? I love it. And every once in a while I'll splurge and I'll stay somewhere that's amazing. But for the most part, I don't have to do, 5-star hotels every night. That's not how I travel. And it's mostly about being where you're at. It's like you stay at the cheaper place down the road and then you have breakfast at the 5-star hotel or whatever. It's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah. You
you
get to
know,
see both, and
right.
it's a bed for 8 hours a night. You're what do you need to be in a 5-star for
Yeah.
8 hours? You put a little blanket on the floor, and then in the
Yeah.
bathroom of the freighter, and you're fine. Yeah.
Right. And it is about feeling safe, which I have. I always feel safe where I'm at. And I'm not stupid. I don't try to go to a new city at night. I'll try to get there by mid-afternoon and then see what I'm doing. But, so I watch it and I'm very sensitive about things. And I just have always felt really safe where I'm at. So that means that's a big piece of it too, you know.
A big piece of this show, this Dave's Gone By show today, has been spent talking to the delightful, the fun, the interesting Suzan Owens. Let's make sure that we know it. Well, you're actually Susan, right? Susan, but is with it right?
I
Susan,
answer to both.
Susan Owens, SUZAN Owens.com is the website where you can find out all about her and her writing. She's also got the separate website for getting the numerology book. What is that website?
Wisdomofnumerology.com.
Wisdomofnumerology.com.
One will take you to the other.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you're
I'm
open.
sure.
Get on one, you can find me on the other one. So for sure.
Now, the one last question, last thing that we haven't even gotten to, besides the number thing, is you're also building yourself in a way as a psychic.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
built as psychotic, but you're more like in the psychic realm. What's like an important major thing of that major thing? Like, ooh, I can feel and tell what's going to happen and stuff.
Yeah, there are a lot of times. I also am a medium. I'll talk to dead people. I've done that before. But that's not all that interesting.
I'm
I'll have to
very
say
into
that. I haven't really enjoyed it all that much. There are other people that do it a lot and they get a lot out of it. For me, it was fun and it's been fun. But for me, being psychic is paying attention and letting and staying open to what comes to you and then I can feel it if this is a true story or not. So yeah, the psychic piece has really been an interesting part of my life. And that didn't come, I've always sort of been, but it's been really the last 3 years of my life is all that it's just blown up.
Now,
Well,
what bothers me, I will say that, what bothers me about psychics is how come so many psychics in the world, so many people have this power? Nobody called the American government on September 10th, 2001. Nobody said September 10th, hey, you know what? Nobody called the Israeli government on October 5th to say, yeah, you should probably watch this. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm seeing like 1,200 dead people. I don't know why. So where were you people when
good question.
yeah. So I go. That's just why I don't really put much stock in. You know.
Oh, I get you. Well, you know what? I have a dear friend, Nancy Weber, that is a forensic psychic. Woman is amazing, and she is she'll help police and whatever find the bodies, find whatever. And
You know what?
truly, you know what,
If
Rabbi,
people
that's
have
not my
my car
thing.
keys, I have not been able to for a week now. I go. If,
Are you serious, truly? You can't find your car keys? Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? You have to be patient. You have to be patient with that. And you have to sit quiet. I would say you'll be able to find them if you just sat
look who you're
quietly.
talking to. It's impossible for me to sit quiet.
Yeah, no wonder you lost them. I can see that. I can see
Hey,
you losing
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Then I lost
But
the car.
seriously,
I,
I
I
don't,
one time I found the keys. I lost the car. So
yeah,
problematic life. But
Oh,
so much fun talking to Suzan Owens. We wish you many more travels, many more. When you go to your next destination or two, please come back. Tell us more. Tell us what you did. Take notes, write about it, and then tell us, because we want to know. If you go to Brazil, or if you go to South America, or you go anywhere except back to New Jersey, because it's really not that interesting. But anywhere else but New Jersey,
okay.
like if you go back to Israel, please tell.
I will. Absolutely. And I'd love to return to Israel. Thank you. I appreciate that, Rabbi, for the conversation, because I would, for the invitation, I would absolutely love to be back. This has been such fun starting my Saturday morning.
Oh, what a great way to start Shabbos with Suzan Owens. Thank you so much. And as the Jews would have told you, shalom to you.
Shalom. Thank you.